Ready? Hello, Director of Corporate Communications. My name is Vanessa Polito, and I will serve as your team lead for Team 4 on the PepsiCo intern team. Before we get started, I did want to introduce our team that will be presenting today and their roles. So, as I mentioned, Vanessa Polito, and I am the team lead. Adrian will be our presentation captain. Lily is our research lead. Aubrey is our case competition coordinator. And Denise is our visual design lead. So, before we get into our narratives, we need to understand who is PepsiCo. So, PepsiCo was originally founded in the 1890s, so they can trace their roots all the way back to the 1800s when it was created by Caleb Bradham. Um, the company that we know now as PepsiCo wasn't founded until 1965 after the Frito-Lay's merger. So, main products that they have are beverages such as Pepsi, Mountain Dew, Gatorade, with snack foods such as Lay's, Doritos, and Cheetos. And they have other food products such as Quaker Oats and Tropicana. Overall, they have over 300 beverages and snacks. They operate in over 200 countries and territories and employ over 300,000 employees worldwide. With that, their main competitor is Coca-Cola. Jumping into PepsiCo's narratives, their main points that they stand on is sustainability and ethical marketing. The 3 points of sustainability that they stand on is positive agriculture. So their agenda aims to promote the adoption of regenerative agriculture, restorative or protective practices, which include focus on watershed health and nature, sourcing their key ingredients in line with their sustainable sourcing guidelines, and they strive towards deforestation and conservation-free sourcing for high-risk commodities in their company-owned and operated activities. So they support improved livelihoods through measurable increases in economic prosperity and farmers and farmer worker security. The second is positive value chain. So they are driving climate action. So water stewardship and sustainable packaging across all their operations and their suppliers. So working together across the supply chain, they're also striving to reduce environmental impact and advance, excuse me, advancing inclusive growth to create lasting value for communities, employees, and our planet. The third and final point for sustainability is positive choices. So they're making it easier to choose food and drink that tastes great and fits the consumer's lifestyle. So by reducing added sugars, sodiums, and adding diverse ingredients, they're infusing their brand with purpose. They strive to create choices that are better for both people and the planet. The second pillar for which they stand is ethical marketing. So that includes TV marketing and school advertising. So they make sure that their marketers follow the PepsiCo global policy on responsible advertising and marketing to children. This means that PepsiCo would not market on television programs when more than 30% of the audience is expected to be under the age of 13 unless it meets the uh, the product meets certain nutritional requirements. So they don't advertise any product to children who are under the age of 6, regardless of the nutritional content. And they only advertise products to children under 13 if they meet certain nutritional requirements. They also do not provide schools with anything that would be deemed as unhealthy or junk food. And passing the baton over to Adrian, who will present the challenges to that narrative.
Thank you for passing it over to me, Vanessa. So, are there challenges to PepsiCo's narrative? Yes, there are challenges to their narrative. While PepsiCo strives to create long term value for the company through responsible business practices, stakeholder engagement, sustainable growth, and by listening to their consumers' needs and wants, there are still some challenges. External experts state, like Wall Street Journal states, that Pepsi consumers are price sensitive. With them being price sensitive, they are switching over to private store brands to replace Pepsi products. There's also health concerns, such as consumers are wanting to eat healthier, so they're replacing their food products with healthier food and beverages, and as well as traditional soda companies like Pepsi are being challenged by other healthier alternative brands like Olipop sodas. Can you switch, Vanessa? Thank you. Pepsi's strategic response to this is by lowering their prices by 15% on signature items like Lay's potato chips, Flaming Hot Cheetos, and Doritos. They've also cut product lines and closed manufacturing plants in order to help with cost savings initiatives, as well as to help with their health. They have been reducing their sugar by 75% on Gatorade items, and also they will stop using artificial colors and replacing it with natural food coloring, such as real fruits and vegetables. For example, Lay's potato chips will now be made with real potatoes instead. Though even with these changes that they're implementing, there's still challenges. Pepsi's prices to consumers are still high and expensive for them. Pepsi states that these changes aren't going to happen overnight due to the restructuring in organizational with their supply value chain. Thank you, and I will be passing it on to Lily.
Thank you, Adrian. So I will be discussing the public's challenge against PepsiCo's narrative. PepsiCo promotes global sustainability as part of their company narrative. However, they have faced some recent challenges regarding this public issue. Break Free from Plastic, also known as BFFP, is a movement that annually releases reports on the top organizational polluters. In 2020, their annual report came out stating that PepsiCo was one of the top polluting companies that year. Previously, in 2018, PepsiCo and other top polluters signed a commitment stating that they would stop unnecessary plastic use. But it was revealed that in a year, they only reduced it by 0.1%. PepsiCo has also recently been hit by 2 lawsuits regarding its sustainability narrative. In 2023, the state of New York decided to sue PepsiCo, alleging that it was harming the environment with its single-use plastic. The state also revealed that waste found in the Buffalo River was mostly from PepsiCo products. This lawsuit has since been dismissed by a Supreme Court judge. In 2024, Pepsi was also hit with another lawsuit, this time from Los Angeles County. The county alleges that PepsiCo misled the public on their plastics. Excuse me. The county also stated that, the county alleges that PepsiCo misled the public on their plastics recyclability. The county also stated that the company's recyclability and throwing away its plastic was contributing more to greenhouse gas emissions. This lawsuit is still currently ongoing, and PepsiCo has since denied any claims. I will now be passing it off to Aubrey.
Thank you, Lily. I will be talking about communication objective and bridge the gap between the company divergent narratives. PepsiCo's communication objective should be to build a stakeholders' trust by providing transparent and measurable evidence of its sustainability and health initiatives. To accomplish this, Pepsi should communicate transparent progress, updates regarding product reformulation, reductions in packaging waste, greenhouse gas emissions, and investments in healthier product options. Regularly sharing progress on reducing environmental impact, improving products offerings, and meeting sustainable goals, Pepsi can close the gap between what it says about itself and what critics and stakeholders perceive about the company. The communication objective that I believe would best bridge the gap between PepsiCo's internal narrative and the external perceptions is to build the stakeholders' trust through transparent, measurable communication about the company's health and sustainability and social responsibility initiatives overall. I think PepsiCo's it presents itself as a company that is committed to sustainability, innovation, and creating positive impacts for consumers, communities, employees, and as well as the environment. According to its mission and public communications, PepsiCo aims to be a leading global food and beverage company that places sustainability at the center of its business strategy. So, while delivering the long term value to stakeholders as well. However, there are external narratives that challenge this story. Critics have concern about the health impacts of some of PepsiCo's products, therefore, particularly those that are high in sugar and sodium and processed ingredients. So, others question the company's environmental impacts, including issues related to plastic packaging and greenhouse gas emissions. And because of these concerns, some stakeholders may view a disconnect between what PepsiCo says about itself and what they stand for versus how they observe and practice. To bridge this gap between PepsiCo's communication objectives should focus on demonstrating progress rather than simply making promises. So the company should provide a clear, transparent, and measurable updates on its sustainability goals, the environmental initiatives, and as well as efforts to create a healthier product options for its clients. For example, PepsiCo could or regularly communicate data showing reduction in packaging and the waste and the improvements in like carbon emissions, investments in sustainable sourcing, and growth in healthier food and beverage offerings. This approach is important because stakeholders today expect accountability. And so consumers, investors, employees, and even committees want evidence that companies are following through on their commitments. So by openly sharing both successes and challenges, I feel that PepsiCo can build credibility and strengthen trust within these groups. Ultimately, the goal is to align stakeholders' perceptions with PepsiCo's and stated mission. When communication is transparent, consistent, and supported by measurable results, stakeholders are more likely to view the company as genuinely committed to sustainability and positive social impact. So this would really help close the gap between PepsiCo's desired narrative and the concerns expressed by external audience as well. So just creating stronger relationships and long-term trust. So I will now be passing it off to Denise.
Thank you, Audrey. One major issue involving Pepsi is the health impact of sugary beverage. Three main stakeholders affected by this issue are consumers, the government, and investors. Customers are the people who buy and use Pepsi products around the world. Consumers are interested in taste, price, and convenience. However, many are now also concerned about health, especially sugar content. This shift in consumer preference is a key reason Pepsi is changing its products. Consumers have very high power because their purchasing decision directly affects Pepsi's revenue. To respond, Pepsi has introduced products like Pepsi Zero Sugar and has reduced the sugar content in many of its drinks. They are also improving the labeling transparency so customers can make informed decisions. Consumers are considered Pepsi's most important stakeholders because they drive the company's success. The second stakeholder group is the government. This includes public health agencies and lawmakers. Their main goal is to protect public health by reducing diseases like obesity and diabetes. They also want companies to provide accurate information about their products. Governments have immense power because they can create laws and regulations. This action can directly impact Pepsi's profits and operations. To respond, Pepsi complies with regulation and work to reduce sugar in its products. They also adapt their strategies in different countries based on local laws. This shows how important it is for Pepsi to maintain a positive relationship with governments. The third stakeholder group is investors or shareholders. Investors are individuals and organizations that own shares in Pepsi. They want the company to remain successful and continue growing. They are also increasingly interested in sustainability and long-term risk management. Investors have high power because they provide the capital needed to run and expand their business. They can influence major decisions by voting or choosing to buy or sell stocks. Pepsi communicates regularly with investors and shows how it is adapting to health and sustainability trends. This reassures investors that Pepsi is preparing for the future. If Pepsi reduces sugar too quickly, profits may drop. But if they don't reduce sugar, they risk losing customers. They risk losing customers and facing regulation. In conclusion, Pepsi faces a major challenge with the health impact of sugary beverage. Consumers influence demand, governments enforce regulations, and investors shape the company's financial direction. Pepsi must continuously adapt to meet all these expectations. Thank you. I now will pass it to Vanessa.
Alrighty, and that concludes our presentation. If there are no other questions, this deck will be sent out for you to have for your records, Director. But I want to thank you for your time. My team thanks you for your time, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day.